who runs the world. Faceless corporations, and it'll be the end of us. This one's going to be uplifting, isn't it?
Oh yeah, fuck capitalism.
Oh, let's get into it.
Oh,
I forgot that I've got a fucking catchphrase that I stole.
yeah.
Hello, everyone. How's it going?
Hiya.
I'm Connor.
And I'm Becky.
And together we are Another World Belfast. We've got a little message to show some love, and this is our podcast. I don't know why I was making such deep eye contact with you. It must be that hole in your jeans.
Hi, Seán.
Hello.
Hello, Seán. What's the crack with you?
I'm good. This will be a long time ago, but it's a release day for Paradise currently
Oh, yes, I saw that right now.
Today?
today.
Oh.
But as this episode goes out,
It'll have all
So
the
we'll already
years
be
ago.
out there. So it'll be actually number one, but at this stage.
Yeah.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
we're like, this is a wee time capsule,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and like BP before Paradise.
Oh, before Paradise.
Thought you were making a comment on
British Petroleum.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like flooding the Gulf of Mexico.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, so Paradise is the song. We've told the story many times, but we're going to just continue to tell it. We heard it first before anyone else, didn't we? The band did record it, but didn't get the final, what's it called? You know, when you...
Master.
The final master. And just by chance, Seán had got it while we were sitting here. We are massive groupies of
Big fans.
of the band called Search Party. Seán is their lead singer. Although I was seeing someone the other day, you know Manuka Honey?
Yes.
Siobhan describes herself, who leads that band, as the band leader.
Band leader.
Does that?
Love that.
It doesn't. It sounds a bit. It's a bit more sort of inclusive, rather than like you're the Harry Styles that's going to run away. You're together in it. You know, it's like it's a collaborative thing.
Yeah. Although band leader to me in our context, I feel like puts me on a higher pedestal or something than the others.
Fair enough.
Yes, because I would say that you're
You're the boss.
that you're leading it. Band leader
And
as
it's
well.
democracy.
If you were telling people you were a band leader, people would be like, "You're called Seán and you're in a band."
That's very modern.
Yes, talking of the environmental side of things.
Yeah, well, that sort of leans into the talking about meat and things as well. You know, it's we were at a really how would I describe it? We were at a Fashion Forever festival last Saturday that was being run by Live Here, Love Here. And it was facilitated and brought by Navigator Blue PR agency. And we brought along our launch of our part of the Little Amal project that's making a community-made blanket alongside Top Floor Art, which is a collective of women who run that organisation.
They're very
based
sweet.
in Smithfield. I was going to say in Saintfield. And... yeah, it was wonderful. We got like 60 glorious patches made by loads of different types of people that came along that wanted to participate. And it was fabulous. We made a real show in terms of being able to use a lot of the furniture that was in the space that was around Belfast 2024, of which we are part of that group. We also did some styling demos with our wonderful friends and models that came to support us as well. And we did a talk about us and who we are and inviting people to come and be part of Greenhouse and the celebration of that in the future. And we met lots of other people that are sort of within that circle that we have lots of respect for as well. People like Sue Bamford, who we adore and who just really understands the problem.
Angeline Murphy.
Absolutely.
Who else was there?
Northern Ireland Resource Network.
Oh, was that Caroline?
That was Caroline wasn't there. It was Emer that was there.
Emer,
but
yes.
Yes.
We got to
And-
see the Emer from Two Royal Avenue.
Yes, who is just the epitome of excellence and
She's
professionalism
just
in event
so-
management.
She's good, isn't she? She's really good. She's a yes person, and not in a negative sense. Just she's a make it happen person. You know,
It's like if she can say yes, she will, and if she has to say no, she'll tell you why.
She'll
you
give
know,
you an
and that's really
alternative.
reasonable. And
Yeah.
it's but she'll really try and work with you, so you know that she's not just saying no as a default. As a, you know, it's like, so you respect that, you know.
Yeah,
But I gotta
exactly.
say, like, I suppose sometimes doing those types of events are really like a positive experience and they can give you loads of hope. And for the large part, it was a really positive experience. But at the same time, it also sometimes what's the word? I think that there can be often a major misunderstanding in terms of what the problem is of clothing waste and how to address the problem. You know, because I think that our approach to it is the understanding that really the best way to address the problem is not, and we're going to be doing a lot of this in Greenhouse, so we're not saying that it's not an answer to the problem, but one of the key things how we address clothing waste is the biggest problem is in overconsumption. Do you know what I mean? And actually the most successful method that we can employ to try and address that is to have people buy less, or to, if they must still want to, you know, work in the, you know, constantly being box fresh or constantly being wearing something new, it's reconsidering secondhand and sharing and swapping and styling and all of those types of things. It's leaning more into that side of things than it is to, for example, one of the things that I found just like mind-numbingly frustrating was the getting lost in the minutiae and not understanding that things like, you know, there was a so Yala run the cafe that's in 2 Royal Avenue where this event took place.
Love Yala.
Shout out to Reem and the amazing work that they do
They're a
there.
social enterprise and they do loads of stuff in the community.
Yeah, they do free English lessons. They do like a gorgeous Arabic cultural festival. They do loads of really good stuff and they're trying really, really hard. But one of the things that I sort of was aware of that was happening at the same time while this sustainability fashion festival was happening was that they were made to go and get these like edible cups, you know, and it's sort of, it feels like, you know, we're getting lost in these like kind of really irrelevant details in the scheme of things in terms of what the greater problems is. You know, so what happens is then that we bring in these like waffle cups, and one of our volunteers went and got a couple of coffees. The cups were of such poor quality that the coffees came in a single-use cup anyway, with a stack of 5 of these waffle cups beside it, because they tried to use them and they kept cracking on them. You couldn't have used them because they were not celiac friendly. They contained gluten.
So they had really sort of focused in on this, and this has happened a few times. At a few events and within these kind of groups, and often it is like a government-led something, or a council-led something, where they're like, yes, we're here for the big picture, but
Let's get lost in the details.
Let's get really lost in the pretty inconsequential details of cups, and then let's put pressure onto people who are trying to manage a venue and make it work for you, onto your participants, onto the people that have really put the work in. We really put the work in.
Yeah.
We brought an incredible display. We were making all of the patches out of waste clothes, but we then also brought just bags and bags, loads of others, so that we could create it. We brought our own sewing machine to put on top and different plants and things to put throughout it. But then in the middle of all of that, you are there with your edible cups, stressing people out. You're there with your edible cups that don't bloody work.
Yeah.
Like you're saying, people were giving out the edible cups, but then also giving out a single-use cup.
Alongside
people who were coming to volunteer for us were being approached to say, oh, just I can see you're wearing your Show Some Love branding and stuff. It's great what you're doing, if that was even said. But I just want to let you know that obviously, you know, we're really focused on sustainability here. So the single-use cups isn't really the moment. And it's like, I'm sorry. Do you fundamentally misunderstand what the moment is and what we're trying to do here? Because what we're trying to do is bring people on board.
And bring joy and create some aspiration and create
people.
some style. And also, like, let's not be hypocrites at the same time as while we do it. You know, there's we get lost in the, you know, plastic straws and single-use cups and all the rest of it. But let's be really clear what the actual problem is. The problem is overconsumption. The problem is, and it comes back to, you know, the original issue that was first, the original greenwashing issue around Keep America Beautiful, where
I'm so glad that we're talking about this.
Yeah, Keep America Beautiful was a campaign that was come up with by the plastics industry and by big drinks vendors like Coca-Cola and Pepsi and things like that. That was meant to address in America in, I want to say, the 70s and 80s, to address the problem of litter. You know, there was a historically reusable packaging was something that was used, you know, in the sort of
Glass
50s,
bottles
60s, 70s. Yeah, exactly. But once the plastic started to take over and people realised that they could use single-use packaging, in order to move the problem away from consumerism, they invented this like Keep America Beautiful campaign, which pushed the problem onto the consumers rather than the responsibility sitting at the producers of the plastics,
So in
the
order
producers of the packaging.
So in order to not affect consumerism, because it's profit driven,
Yeah.
they were then taking the spotlight away from the producers to the people. So it was shifting the blame, because really the blame here is big oil, is big plastic, is governments that are focused more on profit and business than they are on the environment and truly making a difference in that space. And then what you mentioned before as well, which is greenwashing. It's allowing governments and it's allowing those corporations to greenwash. It's actually being part of those programs and not actually even realizing yourself maybe that you are part of the problem.
And while we, fuss over like telling people that, they should be repairing something that they may not be able to repair because it may have been such crap quality in the first place. So repairing is probably not even an issue. It's helping people to understand in an accessible way that doesn't feel scoldy, doesn't feel like it's too far away, that it requires skill in order to access it at all. It's focusing on having people know that maybe if they bought less, but they bought better, they bought more local, that they're not like being sucked in by H&M, for example, saying, that this, what is their type of clothing? They have like they've got a particular range that's intended to be more environmentally sustainable. There is so much content that you can go and watch on how all of that is nonsense. Like they'll talk about, something being a certain percentage made of recycled materials. And then actually whenever you get down into the detail of it, it's only the label that's been made by recycled materials. This is facts, And I'm going to put some links below this as well to some of the documentaries that have been done on this,
There's loads to watch, and it's kind of out there. Like the Keep Northern, or Keep America Beautiful campaign is it's one of those things that you would almost skip.
Like a trope.
Yeah, it's a trope.
Like a classic trope.
You would skip it in a documentary because it's so well known. It's just the thing that's sort of always said within a plastics program, within something like The True Cost, that documentary. It's so
Which
well
they show
known
regularly.
And then weirdly, this is so Northern Irish. The government and the environmental agency or whoever else makes these decisions decides, I know what we'll do. We'll create a program called Keep Northern Ireland Beautiful.
Yeah.
Are you,
Give
or
me
do you
strength.
need to be on drugs?
Yeah.
It's
so
crazy.
maddening. Yeah.
It's crazy.
It's like what happened at the same time was, it's right in front of our very eyes. You can pick up any piece of plastic and look at the bottom of it and you will see that there is what looks like a recycling symbol below it and it'll have a number in it. All that is a classification for the type of plastic that it is. Doesn't mean anything, doesn't mean that it's recycling, it's nothing to do with it. They've just co-opted the recycling symbol to put their grade of plastic in it so that you can tell what type of plastic it is. The only possible benefit that can come to that is if you have the level of knowledge that knows which type of plastic it is, whether it's recyclable or not. But we also know that what happens is we put stuff into the recycling bin, whether it's just a hard plastic, you can't put a soft plastic in, and often that is not sorted any further once it gets there. Do you know what I mean?
You can tarnish the other material that's within that box.
Yeah.
So even the idea of recycling, to be honest, the way that we recycle in this country and the way that we recycle around the UK and Ireland, it's not quite what you would imagine. You
Even
imagine
compostable
it goes to,
stuff.
Oh God! Don't even things that are compostable. It does not mean that you can put them in your compost heap, for example, which is the idea. That seems so. The idea of the compostable message and all of that messaging, the plastic numbers that were specifically designed to look like recycling symbols, and then those same campaigns like Keep America Beautiful and unbelievably Keep Northern Ireland Beautiful, they're from that same source, they're from that same lobby, they're from the same people who are really responsible for the destruction here. That's not one of our volunteers that's trying their best. It's given their time to an independent community organisation that cuts the bullshit and doesn't have such doesn't have a lot of the problems that are associated with the charity sector, like bloody massively inflated wages for doing not very much. For people who are really trying their best to then approach them and just have a wee go, just because what it does though, what it actually it has a negative effect because then it makes people. It made this person, it made another few people who had the experience that on our day at the Fashion Forever Festival. It made them go, fuck yeah. What about your massive rubber sign outside?
That
what
was
about
plugged
your
in for the whole day into the electricity.
What about your plastic glossed fucking... Yeah, it was plugged in all day.
Yeah.
It was like...
And the excuse that was given that was they wanted to have like a reusable asset. And it's like, on what planet can a sign that is like 5 meters by 4 meters ever be used? Like, it's hardly as if it's going to be dropped off a motorway bridge, which is probably like the only space that would be big enough to use something like that again.
No, it's reusable as long as you put it on that rubberized and plastic sign.
Yeah, power it for the day off the grid. Yeah, it's just speaks to, we are missing the point. Whilst we know that whenever we speak about like fast fashion, for example, we know that our executive office and our council, they immediately go, oh, but we can't challenge the high street brands because they're the ones that are keeping the high street alive and things like that. And they're not. What's happening is those are the only people that have got the money to be able to pay rents, the exorbitant rents in our city centre. And it's not even just the rents, it's the rates that go alongside it.
Yeah.
So it's the death of the high street. You know, it means that local traders cannot set up shop in the city centre. Our city centre is dying. And then we end up with problems with homelessness, with substance misuse, with all of the societal issues that come because people don't have jobs. They don't have opportunities. You know, we don't have a public transport system that is affordable, available all the time. You know, there are so many of these much bigger issue problems that we're completely ignoring while we lose our shit over fucking cups and plastic straws. Do you know what I mean? We need to start to think bigger about these issues and truly understand that these are communication problems, these are societal problems. And whilst we lose our minds over these little minutiae details that actually in the scheme of things are a drop in the ocean, and we ignore the big stuff, like being able to address the fact that we have a mental health crisis going on that is fed by social media. Social media is fed by influencer culture, by telling particularly women that they need to buy 15 different creams in order to look a certain way, that they need to put on 20 different types of makeup in order to have a look. What are we telling young people? You know, that is the problem that we need to address, and many more of it.
It's those young people, though. It's the sort of TikTok generation. It's the people that will buy a £100 haul off Shein or whatever other big bastard company there is out there. It's them people that we have to inspire. And the point that I was making the other day when we were at Fashion Forever, now we were very lucky to have the front, and we got that because we worked very hard and we can put together a show, and we
delivered.
Welcome people in, and we delivered so well. But there was a question of just having our clothes strangely sort of shoved at the back of the room, and we had said, look, we've already booked the pod for bits to sort of plug in and all the rest of it. Why don't we bring our clothes up and we'll just bring the energy up here? So we'll have great music. We had requested there be no piano. Unfortunately, there was piano playing and it cleared out the room God knows how many times.
Yeah.
We will do a whole podcast on the community piano that we hate.
Yeah.
It's very sweet. People who want to do it,
It's a nice idea.
I get the idea. But when you actually put a lot of those ideas into practice, it doesn't create a vibe. Because what we're trying to do then is attract people into our wee space and not repel them with whatever else is going on.
Into the whole space.
To be able to then inspire that we I don't know, insert a name, Julie, that shops on the TikTok shop to go, oh, do you know, I thought sustainable fashion was crap.
Yeah.
And actually,
Or
you've
dowdy.
got, because we hear this feedback a lot, like, God, the stuff in your shop's actually really good. And it's because, unfortunately, there's so much stuff out there that we pick only the very best, because we also have the channel to give away clothes. So things that aren't maybe so branded or so fancy or so shiny, we'll give them away because it's what people need and it's actually the most requested items. But it's trying to inspire that person walking through. My example was that I would have went, if I wasn't part of this, I actually would have seen the big rubber sign and thought, yeah, I'll go in there. It's a fashion something or other. I'm in the fashion. I would have got in and felt, if I would have did the rounds and then was asked for my takeaways, I would have felt like, one, I had been duped. It wasn't fashion.
It's fashion? Is it wait, but is it fashion? It's fashion.
Two, I'd been duped. It wasn't forever. It wasn't sustainable. And I would have maybe thought, you know, if these are the people, if this are the people who are employed by our government agencies and funded to, we would say greenwash, but they would say somehow help the planet in part. I would have went, well, if that's the moment, we're fucked.
Yeah.
I give up. I'm
Yeah,
actually
I'll
just going to
just
go
keep
back
buying
onto
off
the TikTok
Seán.
because we're dead.
Yeah.
We are done. It's remembering that if the people who are put in place to inspire us to change,
Don't
and
know what they're doing.
don't know what they're doing, then you're doing more harm than good. I
Yeah.
would say that you are harming the environment. It's so dangerous. We're at a really critical time, and there are people out there that just fundamentally, like you're saying, misunderstand. It seems the whole picture. Do you know who? When we were talking that day, you had to run. It was a bumpy ride. Let's say that. Everyone was trying their best, but it was a bumpy ride, and we were speaking, and we were going to bring our models out, but then they didn't have any music. And this, we've already spoken about Emer at 2 Avenue. She's just a rock star. You know, you can ask her for anything, and she's like, "I'll get my iPod. Do you have a playlist? I'm going to stick it on. I'll DJ for you for 10 minutes. Although I do not have the time to do this. Where is the person that should be hired to do this?" But anyways, we were there. You went to go and get the music off her, and I sort of just had to fill time. And I'm quite, well, you probably noticed, quite good at just talking crap or filling time. And that same Sue Bamford, who is just, we love her. She's so
amazing.
punk and she's so fun, and she's got like bright pink hair, and she's a bit mad. She's into visible mending. I'm inspired by her. I want to visible mend if that's what she's doing.
She's selling fashion.
Yes.
She's selling style.
Yes. Now,
Do
in
you
the
know what I
video that
mean?
we shared very little of the other participants in the event, but we did share actually a wee clip of the jumper that she had made, which was something like sustainability
Is a radical act.
is a radical act. Yes. So she's very punk, and she said, "Can I ask a question?" And I thought, "Thank God you are." And she says, she says, "I've got a question, but I really just want to make a point." She says, "It's not about all of this. It's not, I feel like we've fundamentally misunderstood the message. It's actually about it's about consumerism. It's about over consuming products, and about we're fighting the need to just have new stuff." And she says, often in these spaces, because they're government run, and there's that kind of duality in the way that they are funded and have an outlook on the world, often the thing that isn't said is that the most important thing is to reimagine your garment, or to
Buy less.
is to value the things that you have, is to buy quality, is to focus on that rather than recycling, which she said just doesn't work. And I agree with her. It's that system is broken. And what's the other one? So it's reduce, reuse, and recycle. So she was saying it's really the reduce and the reuse.
Yeah.
You know, that we should.
And that
be
is
focusing on.
marketing. That is a communication message.
Yeah.
Which is the bit that I truly believe that those that were putting that event into place do not understand deeply enough in order to be able to facilitate such an event. Because the PR agency did their best, but they're a PR agency. You know, they'll do their job, but they're not the ones that are creating the brief, and therefore able to come in afterwards and debrief to say whether it was a success or not. But I would also push it back, and we are going to speak to them, and we probably, by the time this comes out, we probably will have already spoken to them. But it comes back to the Department of the Environment and Agriculture to say
down
that,
to 'em, yeah.
yeah, it's understanding like what is the problem that is trying to be addressed, and how effective, what KPIs are in place that says whether the routes that they're taking are ones that are addressing the right age group of people who are the ones that are creating the problem the most, you know. And if that's the case, how are we making sure that our communication messages are able to address the problem? Because if it's not doing that, it's box ticking, and it is greenwashing.
Yeah, we'll see you guys as stakeholders in the event. Would you do an event like that again?
No,
Absolutely.
Never
under
again.
any
we
circumstances.
would run our own event, but we would make it enjoyable and cool.
We did, in fairness, on sort of following them through the years, we thought we decided that we would never work with them.
Yeah.
Because they had made some really very questionable decisions when it came to who they were working with and partnering with and all the rest of it.
Organisations that are cutting the tripe out of the charity sector,
Just it's very
Short-term
short-sighted
thinking.
and all the rest of it. So we actually decided that we wouldn't. But because this PR firm, who actually, in fairness, got great press, did a good job, took wonderful pictures, and were great mediators in that space.
yeah.
They
But
did
God
whatever
love
they
them.
could.
They were working with a difficult brief.
Yes. So if it wasn't for that PR firm, we actually had decided that we wouldn't. Before what we had seen so far, we decided that we wouldn't of work with them, but we thought we'd give it one more go, we'll give
Yeah.
it one more bash.
So our
And,
integrity's in place with it as well, so we know what we're talking about.
I mean, it's it's not the way. What we are looking forward to though is working hopefully with an executive that's maybe a bit more open to hearing a bit of feedback. Hopefully, giving our feedback to the to Dira as well. I'm going to say it loud as well. I try to on the day, and the sentiment was because it seems like everyone's friends with everyone. It seems like everyone's sort of has this personal relationship that it's maybe not necessarily about the environment, but it's about giving your mates the money. But they had said, "Oh no, this person don't do a really good job," and I says, And that's me saying I don't actually want to talk about it now. We're in a public setting. What I'll do is give you feedback later. Yeah. But then the lady's response, like there were two women there from it, and one was much more willing to hear the feedback, which is her job and her responsibility, and then the other actually really personalised it, and it's the problem that we have in this country.
We talk about it a lot.
Well, we talk about it a lot because it's one of the biggest problems that we have. She really personalised it, and she says, "Oh, don't say that about the woman." And actually, I hadn't even bloody made comment on it yet. Yeah. Now she could take from my general sort of feedback and that little that little interaction that I wasn't happy, but it's to say, see if you aren't happy with this is how you feedback, and the other lady that was with her did that. But actually, if you have 5 minutes, do you want to go and step outside because it is a public event? Yeah, I can take a wee bit of that feedback now, and then we'll really work. We'll really do our best with the public money that we're spending to make sure that we are we're having the greatest impact that we can have.
It's like whenever you say something that is challenging, something professional, and the answer that you get back is, "Oh, but I think they're lovely," and it's like, not speaking anything about the person's personality or who they are, purely talking about competency to deliver against a job, that impacts us and our reputation and the reputation of every other person who was in the room at the time.
And our planet.
Yeah. And it's also then we go back to intersectionality, and we invite, there was a St. Vincent de Paul that was there. And as queer people, we have to take massive exception to that. And then we had even more reason to that because, of course, Connor got talking to the lovely guy who was working for them.
He's so sweet.
And we're not going to say anything about the conversations that happened, but was able to basically confirm every suspicion that we had in terms of the fact that it's a fundamentalist religious organisation who have got anti-equality viewpoints and challenge anything that is towards equality. That is something that we have to see all of these things as being linked together. And what it basically comes down to is we should be looking at things like buying less shit, having better access to public transport and driving less and flying less. Yeah. We should be eating less meat. We should be having fewer kids, and that's back to feminism and having people having a right to choose whether they do that or not. And other issues like that, where we need to start to move away from capitalism and neoliberalism and this obsession with consumption and overconsumption, which is harming all of us. People are not happy. We've got a massive mental health crisis here, and all of these things are tied up and linked together. So the sooner we can switch on to that and realise that we need to be taking care of people, we need to be less obsessed with spending money on shite. We need to be more interested in having opportunities to come together, either creatively or from an entertainment perspective. And we just need to kind of come down off of this like bullshit where we are competing with each other for profit constantly. It's very rare that you'll get this. You've probably never got this energy from us, quite this level. In a podcast, and we're now 20-something episodes in. It's generally not how we go about the world or act. I think it's important to sort of welcome people in, deliver that message, and then escalate from there. Yeah. But we have tried to do that. In fact, when we did try to do it, it just felt so bloody personal. It's unprofessional. It's unprofessional. So I'm gonna say the show some love moment out loud. But when delivering that message, it's something like this in a much more muted way, because we were trying to get what we wanted, which was just our clothes not to be anywhere near the religious extremists that are St. Vincent de Paul, as per we had requested. That when I delivered that message with the lady that was running the event and the PR representative, the woman that was running the event and runs the organisation in part, replied to me, "Why don't you just show some love?" Yeah, it just also just speaks to not understanding all of it.
Well, my
you know.
reply to that is that we're showing some love to ourselves, we're showing some love to our community, we're showing some love to our planet, and we're trying our best to make the biggest impact that we can. We're really trying to bring a level. It's important that we all try to aspire to be better, aspire to inspire more people, and to bring as many people on board as we possibly can.
And really understand the problem, deeply understand the problem. And if you don't understand how to address the problem, then get the fuck out of the way.
If you can't manage that conversation, don't do the job. You know, it's, well, I'm trying my best. Now, that wasn't said, but that's sometimes the general energy in these conversations. They are trying their best, or I am trying my best. And sometimes it has to be said.
Sometimes
It's
best
just
isn't
not
good
good enough.
No,
It's not
that's what I
good
mean by
enough.
get out of the way.
It's deadly serious. And I think we actually posted about it in the week with a podcast title, which was Single-Use Cups Can Get the Fuck. But it's that, you know, let's stop focusing on the tiny personal elements of how we go about our lives, and let's shift that focus to the people who are really to blame here. It's vitally important.
Let's try to be a bit resistant to advertising and societal pressures. Do you know what I mean? Focus our money and our time and our effort on becoming the best people that we can be, actually opening our eyes to what actually is happening, and not just kind of constantly placating ourselves and each other with buying more shit for the sake of it to make ourselves feel better. Let's try and just make ourselves feel better at the core.
If you're repelled by this, bye. But if on the flip side, if you are inspired by this and you're like, fuck yeah, I really get that, I love that, and that's the way that I've been thinking. I thought I was mad, but actually I want to get on board with that. You can come and join us. We've got a new project called Greenhouse. You can sign up your expressions of interest on all the links in our social media bios, but also on our website. At the point where this goes out, we may or may not have launched that project, but there's loads of ways to get involved, to either volunteer, to come and join our community, to support us financially, to give us an idea, to work together on something. So whereas that event in the Fashion Forever Festival was not the best, we are really going to try our best to invite that conversation and to really truly bring people together and show some love for our community, because it's needed.
We need to make things better.
We need to make things better. Come and join us and do that. And as ever, we're so grateful to anyone that's listening. Hopefully you continue to listen. You don't go off. It hasn't repelled you. And we'll be back next week talking about, I don't know, our
Drag Race.
farting chairs and RuPaul's Drag Race.
Yes.
Love it.
That's all for today, folks.
Show some love.
Show some love. Bye.